My name is Maria Tsibulnik. I'm from Ukraine, from the city Kharkiv. This is the city in the east of Ukraine, which was under shelling for months. This is the second largest city in the country after the capital. And I have been living there for all my life. I'm 29, and I was just recently displaced by war, so I have never ever stayed in any other country more than 3 months, but I traveled a lot though. I have been to 27, now it's, 27 countries. Yeah, but I only stayed there no more than months and a half. But now I left Ukraine in April, so it's been how many months? Around 8, 9 months. I was living with my friend close to my parents' home. It was like 5 minutes by car. So this year, I'm sure you're aware that in 2014, Russia annexed some territories on the east and south. So we tell that the war started 80 years ago. But this year, the new escalation started, right? It was on the 24th of February, around 5 a.m. I will never forget that day, of course. And I was in my bed. That day I had to get up very early because I had some family issues I had to solve. So my alarm was actually set around like 5 a.m. So I got up because of my alarm. But first thing I was doing each morning, every day, was to read the news before the starting date. All over the world, people were saying that Russia is going to attack Ukraine soon. I think after January, I started to read all the news, like every day. It was like my usual habit to read the news first in the morning and discover like what happened. Maybe 2 or 3 days before the war, the situation got really bad. So I was almost reading news like every half an hour because Putin proclaimed the eastern territories as a part of Russia, so there were some informational preparations for the invasion. That's why first thing in the morning, that day, 5 a.m., I went to the news channels that I was reading like daily, and I just saw that during the night, it was nighttime in Ukraine, the recorded speech of Putin was announced, which he said that he starts this special operation. That's how they call the war. And immediately, so I was shocked just reading that, it was like when I didn't believe what I see, and just immediately, maybe half a minute after, I heard some, it's like fireworks, like far away, like multiple explosions. Yeah, and I realized it immediately, but I mean, my brain couldn't believe it started. So my friend woke up also, and yeah, it was a very nervous moment. So immediately in the first day, we decided to move to my workplace because there was a big basement we could stay in, and it's a big facility that it's like a hotel restaurant complex where I have been working, and we stayed in the basement for 5 days. It was very scary because the first days of the war, no one was like certain about the future. It's now we can see that Ukraine is like definitely will win. We know this now. It's still a long fight. Okay. But in the first days, people were so scared. And in my city, we were terrified that Russian will catch my city, like occupy it. My friend actually told that we should leave because their attacks were aiming at civilians. So many people were in the city and they were shelling the civilian houses, and there were many people injured just staying in the line to the supermarket. or just staying at their homes. So it was very, very dangerous. The basement we stay in, it was just an old place, so it was not prepared for people to stay or live there. So I was feeling a bit sick. I had sore throat and ear pain because it was like, wet and cold. And also any explosion above on the building could lead to the blocking of the door, because we only had one exit. So we left by car. It was a very hard decision because no one knew what could happen. So there were many stories reported how they shoot the cars who are trying to leave. And it's true, there were many, many injured and dead people who were trying to leave. But we were lucky that going from my city to the west, it was possible, because we were going through the road which goes through the center of Ukraine. There were many cars leaving the eastern regions of Ukraine going west as well. We didn't have any place to stay on the west, so we were just moving without any purpose. And then I caught up with my relatives. We haven't spoken with them for 10 years, but somehow we found their cell phone, their number, and we called them, and they accommodated us for a couple of days. They even provided us with a flat. So I stayed in the city, which is located in the center of Ukraine. And then my mom and my brother, they continued to stay at that city with my relatives, and I left with my friend, and we went to the other city, which is even more west, because we had other friends there, and we stayed together. Like, there were 5 adults, 2 kids, and 1 dog. Mm-hmm. We all stayed in condo. So okay. I was sleeping in the kitchen on the floor. Oh. And I have stayed there for a month, I think. Then I left Ukraine because I was in touch with my distant relatives who live in the United States. Even before the war, they asked me if I need any help and if I need some stay, that they can help me with that. So I didn't want to leave Ukraine, but somehow I started to feel that I'm depressed and not in a good mood. So I needed a small getaway, and I thought that maybe I should just take a rest, come to them, just stay with them and then come back. Also, my concern was about my job, because I lost my job. And of course, you need money, to live. As I am a woman, I was allowed to leave the country, because I don't know if you know, but men in the age between 18 and 60, they can leave the country now. They only can do that if they have 3 or more kids, so they have some health issues. So there are some exceptions, but in general, they cannot. So, but women can. So I was thinking maybe I should go to Europe, and as the other people did, and try to find a job there. My relatives bought me tickets to the United States, and they bought me even return tickets to go to Europe. So the plan was to go stay with them for months and a half, and then come back to Europe, and then either come back to Ukraine or settle in Europe. So we had an illusion at that time that it all will be finished soon somehow. We didn't expect it to last for so long. Now we know that it's like I told you, it's a marathon, it's a long distance to win, but we were thinking that something will happen, so someone will help us and somehow it will be finished. That's why I was thinking that I just need a small getaway and then I can be back. I even didn't take any clothes with me, so I came to the United States and then I had to buy a lot of stuff, some summer clothes because it became warmer. I decided not to go back after months and a half. I decided that we need to return my return ticket because it was like the middle of May, because I understood that the war is still going on and it would go for like long time, and I just wanted to stay longer to understand my future steps. I have stayed in the United States until the end of summer, and then I moved to Canada. So probably in June I applied for Canadian visa, Canadian program for emergency travel, and then I was waiting for my biometrics, for my documents. I was still uncertain whether I would go to Canada. I was doubtful. I was exploring the other possibilities like European countries, because my goal was to find the job. But when I got my Canadian visa and I saw it like in person in my passport, I understood that this is a reasonable decision to come here. I speak English, and in European countries, it's better to know not only English but their native language, depending on the country. So I felt like here in Canada, I would have more possibilities to find a job. And also, they have a nice program with a lot of benefits. As you know, millions of Ukrainians were displaced. So the first country they went to was Poland, and the Poland gave unbelievable support, and even now. So mostly all of those people, they still staying in Poland, and the other countries did their best. So they provided some temporary emergency programs helping with accommodation and some monthly fees for food and everything like that. With the United States, they only started to implying some programs like that, maybe in not immediately, so maybe just maybe in May, I don't remember. They made a program called United for Ukraine. It's like a humanitarian parole for Ukrainians. Since I came before that, I was eligible for the other program, which is temporary protection status. They implied it for those who were staying in the country before 11th of April. This status meant that I could stay longer than I could stay with my tourist visa. I didn't mention that it was easy for me to come because, it wasn't easy financially, but my relatives bought me tickets. But the other parts was very easy because I already had a tourist visa. At first, I found them pretty supportive. Yeah, because people, even in the airport in the United States, some people that knew that I'm from Ukraine, they would hug me, and say supportive words. So many people in the United States, they follow the news and they express their condolences and also their support, and that was very good to hear. We have a trauma, so even we are biased now. So, but I'll tell you the truth. So I just tell you my situation, for example. I live on the east of Ukraine, and we have, or I can say we had, many relatives in Russia, also distant relatives, but I knew around 20 of them, and also my sister lives in Moscow. She has been living there for many years with her husband, and she is the only person I now speak to because she is on my side. But all the other people, like your husband and his family and my distant relatives and the friends that I had there, all of them support the war. And this is real story, right? So when we were in the shelter, my relatives used to call my mom and say oh, just wait until Russia will come and everything will be alright, you know? It was a disgusting thing. I just cut them off, I blocked them. When we tried to explain them what is really happening, like, Mom, like, there are like missiles about us, like, what are you talking about? Like, go protest against Putin. They were just saying that we do not understand, that we are a threat to Russia, you know, so all this bullshit that they say. I do want to mention that among those people who gave me like a huge support uh, was one lady from Russia and the other from Belarus. They immigrated many, many years ago, but they do not believe any word of the propaganda, you know. They are very clear and they understand everything.